This series of tutorials will teach you the basics of Command Combat Civil War. This second in the series is about setting up the game to prepare to play, from deciding what type of scenario to preparing the table. The first thing you are going to need to do is decide which type of scenario you want to play. It can be historical, made up by you, or you can choose from one of 6 scenarios listed in the basic rulebook. When you make up a scenario yourself, lay out your terrain and agree among the players where the units will be placed. When you choose a historical battle, select the battle from among the scenarios in the rulebook, one of the expansions, or one of the battle packs. All available on www.commandcombat.com. Set up the tables as illustrated in the scenario, usually on a 6x4 table unless instructed otherwise in the scenario. Then place the figures on the table as instructed in the rules of the scenario. The historic scenario will have instructions regarding the sequence of play, when new units enter, and the terms of victory. If you have one of the battle packs, it is recommended that you play them in order, beginning with the smallest scenario first to learn how the game is played, then moving on to the larger ones. If you choose to play a scenario from the rulebook, you first roll to see if there is rain. On an 8 or 9, there is recent rain. On a 0, rain is imminent during the battle. You then have a choice of 6 scenarios to choose from or roll randomly for defense attack, meeting engagement, stumble upon each other, flanking, withdrawal, and siege breakout. Defense attack is the most common scenario from the Civil War. One player is attempting to hold his ground while the other is trying to breach the defenses and take the objectives. Meeting engagement is the most basic type of wargaming scenario where both players place everything they purchased onto the table and battle it out. Stumble upon each other is a scenario that reflects 2 armies in motion whose lead elements have run into each other on the battlefield. The rest of the armies arrive on the field throughout the fight until a general engagement is at hand. Flanking reflects the battles like First Bull Run, where one army has strategically outflanked their opponent and is trying to roll up the enemy before it can rebuild its defense. Withdrawal reflects a scenario in which one side has decided to move out and is trying to get away while the other army is trying to destroy them before they can disengage. And finally, Siege Breakout represents the battles in which one side has been besieged and is attempting to break out before their men starve. Once you have decided on the scenario, you will need to set up the table. For each event purchased, roll on the events table to see what you got, using the event at the appropriate time. For each raider, roll to see how many ammo markers have been stolen from the enemy supply wagon. Now determine how many cavalry points you can use. You get 1 cavalry point for every cavalry stand you have, plus however many points you get from events, generals, and spies. This is your total number of cavalry points you can use during setup, which will affect how the table is created. Now to set up the table. First, divide the table into 6 even sections. On a standard 6x4 table, each section should be 2 feet by 2 feet. In each section, roll to see how many terrain pieces will be in each section. 1 to 2 equals 1 piece, 3 to 4 is 2 pieces, 5 to 7 is 3 pieces, 8 to 9 equals 4 pieces, and 0 equals 5 terrain pieces. In each section, roll the number of dice equal to the number of terrain pieces in that section, and place those dice in the appropriate section, as seen in this example. Each roll matches a terrain type on the main terrain table on page 38 of the rulebook. The players may spend cavalry points to re-roll any of these dice, or even to re-roll the number of terrain pieces in a section. The scenario will declare which player chooses a section on the table first. That player chooses one of the 6 sections. The number on each die in the chosen section corresponds to a number on the main terrain chart. This chart tells the player which sub-terrain chart to roll on for each die. The player rolls each die again and consults the appropriate sub-terrain chart. For instance, in this example, the chosen section has 9, 5, 7, and 3. On the main terrain chart, 9 is rivers and creeks, so the player rolls again consulting the rivers and creeks chart. 5 is woods, so he rolls and consults the woods chart. 7 is hills, so he rolls and consults the hills chart. And 3 is farm, home, village, so he rolls and consults the farm, home, village chart. As he rolls each die, he chooses a terrain piece of that type. For instance, if he was to roll woods with a path, he chooses a woods piece and a length of thin road that can serve as a path. He places the woods section anywhere in his chosen section and places the path between the woods however he wants it. He does the same with the hill and the farm, home, or village. Rivers, creeks, and roads can be a little different. The player chooses a point for the path to enter. This can be from another section or from off the board. He has it go anywhere into the section, then lead off into any other section or off the board. When it enters another section, he stops placing it unless that section has already been built, in which case he continues to build it into that section. Once all pieces of terrain have been placed into this section, the opposing player may choose one and move it up to 10 inches in any direction, even into another section or off the board. He may use cavalry points to move more sections if he wishes. The first player may spend cavalry points to cancel a move or to adjust other terrain. Once both players have finished moving terrain, the opposing player chooses a section that connects to the area that is already built upon. He follows the same steps as the first player, building up his section. If a road, river, or creek enters his area, he must continue it until it goes off into an unbuilt section, or moves off the edge of the board. The opposing player again gets to move one terrain piece up to 10 inches, and both can use their cavalry points to continue to move terrain. This process moves back and forth until the entire table has been built. When that is done, place the figures as per the scenario. When this is done, the game is ready to be played. To see more tutorials on everything from creating your army to using it in battle, check out the other tutorials and visit us at www.commandcombat.com. Happy gaming, everybody!